Hello, this is Worldwide Geography, a channel all about geography. Earthquakes are serious natural hazards that affect people across the globe, sometimes at long distances from where the quakes occur. They are especially dangerous because seismologists, the scientists who study earthquakes, cannot predict them in time for evacuations or other precautions. In this video, we will talk about earthquakes in detail. An earthquake is a sudden motion or trembling in the earth caused by the abrupt release of slowly accumulated energy. All earthquakes occur along a fault, which is a fracture in the Earth's crust where tectonic movement occurs. Where the actual break occurred along the fault is called the focus, also called the hypocenter. And the epicenter is the point on the Earth's surface that lies directly above the focus and is where the strongest shock wave is normally felt. Recall that all around the planet, tectonic plates are moving because of convection in the mantle. Tectonic plates are also composed of two types of crust, oceanic and continental. The oceanic crust, which is made mostly of basalt, is denser than the continental crust, which is made of granite. When these tectonic plates come in contact, the denser oceanic crust subducts below the continental crust. In any place that plates come in contact, stress will build as the force of their movement causes a push on each other. As the rocks begin to bend under tectonic forces, large amounts of deformation, called strain, occur. In some places, the strain is shown as seismic creep, which is the gradual bending or movement along a fault. In other places, the fault can become locked. When the stress becomes too great for the rocks to hold, segments may suddenly snap, releasing large amounts of energy. This is called the elastic rebound theory. Types of earthquakes. There are several types of faults that earthquakes occur on, which are dependent on whether the fault is occurring because of convergent, divergent, or transform tectonic plate forcing. Geologists use old mining terms to distinguish between different types of faults. Think of a miner walking down into the earth along a fault line. The ground the miner is walking on is called the footwall. If the miner needs to hang their lantern, the ceiling is called the hanging wall. Strike-slip faults. They occur along transform boundaries where tectonic plates move horizontally or parallel. Deformation of rivers, roads, fences, etc. can occur if they cross over these fault lines. Examples of strike-slip faults are the San Andreas Fault in the United States and the North Anatolian Fault in Turkey. Normal faults, they are common along divergent plate boundaries. As extensional forces occur, the footwall is forced upward, while the hanging wall slides downward. This can create a series of valleys, called a graben, and mountains, called a horst. Examples of mountain ranges and valleys created by normal faulting are the Grand Tetons, the Basin and Range in the western United States, and the Wasatch Front in Utah. Reverse faults. They are caused by compressional forces as tectonic plates collide together, forcing one plate to rise above another. Using the mining terminology, movement along a reverse fault would cause the hanging wall to rise up and the footwall to drop lower. The angle of a reverse fault is about 45 degrees, but if the angle of the fault is steeper than 45 degrees, it is called a thrust fault. When two plates collide, intense folding and faulting can occur. Examples of where reverse and thrust faults occur are where convergent boundaries are common, such as the Northern Rocky Mountains, the Alps, the Himalayas, and the Appalachian Mountains. Measuring seismic activity. Seismologists record seismic waves using a seismograph. When a rupture occurs within the Earth, energy is released from the focus in all directions, and the seismograph will record the magnitude of the energy. There are two types of seismic waves: primary waves and secondary waves. Primary waves, also called P waves, are compressional waves and are the first to be felt by seismographs in individuals because they travel the fastest, about 3.7 miles per second. To visualize a P wave, think of stretching a slinky and letting it go. You would be able to actually see the compression occurring within the slinky. The second type of seismic wave is called a secondary wave or S wave. They reach the seismograph second because they travel slower than P waves and travel in a side-to-side manner. Imagine pulling a slinky and shaking one end side to side. You would be able to see the side-to-side movement travel up the slinky. P waves and S waves together are called body waves because they travel through the Earth rather than on the surface. Human-induced earthquakes. Can humans create earthquakes? Maybe not intentionally, but the answer is yes, and here is why. If a water reservoir is built on top of an active fault line, the water may actually lubricate the fault and weaken the stress built up within it. This may either create a series of small earthquakes or potentially create a large earthquake. Also, the sheer weight of the reservoir's water can weaken the bedrock, causing it to fracture. Then the obvious concern is if the dam fails. Earthquakes can also be generated if humans inject other fluids into a fault such as sewage or chemical waste. Finally, nuclear explosions can trigger earthquakes. In fact, one way to determine if a nation has tested a nuclear bomb is by monitoring the earthquakes and energy released by the explosion. Earthquake hazards. Earthquakes do not kill people. Falling buildings and highways kill people. History has taught us the importance of building codes to create safer buildings. Many of the massive death tolls reported by earthquakes are caused by poorly built buildings rather than the earthquake itself. In general, buildings or structures built out of brick, stone, mud, or reinforced concrete fare poorly in large earthquakes because there is very little flexibility in the structures as the ground shakes. The best types of buildings to be in are those built of wood because of their flexibility. The house may not be habitable after the earthquake, but they won't crumble or collapse on people. Buildings with weak floors or basement garages are also susceptible to collapsing. There are several techniques engineers have developed to help buildings withstand the destructive power of earthquakes. Many buildings are being built or retrofitted with diagonal braces that can withstand the ground motions caused by an earthquake. Tall buildings also tend to sway at different frequencies, so they slam into each other during an earthquake. If engineers know how much a building will sway, they can determine how far apart buildings must be built. Finally, engineers are placing rubber pads at the base of newly built and retrofitted buildings that act as shock absorbers. Earthquakes can also destabilize steep slopes, causing them to slip and fail. These landslides tend to occur where the ground is mostly loose, sandy soil with a high water table. Fires are also another serious hazard created by earthquakes, as our infrastructure collapses and electrical and gas lines break. The threat of fires will also increase as emergency crews have a hard time maneuvering through the debris. There are two simple things individuals can do to reduce their risk of a fire. First is to have a wrench attached to their outside gas line. If you smell gas at your house, quickly turn off the gas. But if you do not smell gas, do not turn it off. Doing so may prevent you from having heating in your house in the winter, and it may be months before it gets turned back on. Second, make sure your water heater is attached to your house. A simple $20 bracket wrapped around your water heater and bolted into your house may prevent it from falling over and breaking its gas line. Another interesting effect of powerful earthquakes is island creation. In September 2013, a moderately powerful earthquake off the coast of Pakistan created a 200-foot wide, 60-foot tall island. It won't last long because ocean waves will erode it back down, but it's an interesting and rare effect of earthquakes. Earthquake preparedness. Everywhere in the world has disasters, so nowhere is safe. But everyone should be prepared for the type of disasters their region experiences. Everyone should have a 72-hour kit prepared in their car and house. Here are a few more items you should think about with disaster preparedness. Each member of your family should also know where to meet in case of a disaster. The number one reason why people end up in the hospital after an earthquake is the glass in their feet. Having a pair of old shoes under your bed can greatly reduce that probability. Know how to shut off your gas line if you smell gas in your house. If it requires a wrench to shut off, always have one next to the line for quick shoot-off. You will know if you have a gas leak because the gas companies place a chemical in the gas that will smell like rotten eggs. Also, make sure your water heater is attached to your house. If your water heater falls over and the gas line breaks, your house can catch fire. If you and your family are safe, take care of others in need. Alright, that's all for this video on worldwide geography. If you're interested in this topic, please comment and share your views. If you like our channel, please subscribe, like, and share. See you in the next video.